Hey everybody, I'm Grandmaster Ben Finegold. This is 5 Minutes with Ben, and I'm Ben. Recently, Chess.com concluded the Speed Chess Championship in Paris, which I'm sure a lot of you saw. And I wanted to have some 5 Minutes with Ben with some of the more interesting games. This game I thought was one of the most interesting. It was played between Hans Niemann with white and Hikaru Nakamura with black. I guess if you want to be a top grandmaster nowadays, your initials have to be HM or HN. I could almost read, but not quite. Anyway, white just played H6, putting it in H. And in this position, Hikaru thought a long time, confusing the commentators because they thought black had to play G6, and they thought there was no other logical move. And then Hikaru didn't play G6, confusing the commentators. Instead, he played G5. And the commentators thought white would just sack everything and win, and that G5 wasn't playable. In this instance, commentators were right. And you'll notice, and this is the last time you're going to notice, nothing's been traded. Everything is still on the board. No pieces or pawns have been traded. So, okay, Hikaru got his wish. Hans sacrificed the bishop. And now white is threatening queen G7 checkmate. If you block the queen with the F knight, then I check and play queen G7 mate. So you have to block with the other knight, which is what Hikaru did. And then in this position, several things win. The engine wants to take on D5. Hans played queen F6 check, which is good enough. King G8. Again, the engine wants to take on D5. And there's a very cute variation here where black tries to defend with queen F7, attacking the queen, and if the queen takes, then the bishop takes. But white actually gets the piece back by playing the brilliant queen G7 check. Now we have to trade queens, and this knight's attacked, and this bishop is attacked. And white's down a piece, but white's going to win a piece here. So white will be winning. For example, if you take the knight, I take this knight with check, and then I take the bishop, and white is up a couple of pawns, and there's a pass pawn on E6. Engine says +5 or something. Okay, so he takes D5 in this position was the engine move. Hans played knight G6, which gets rid of some of his advantage. Okay, then H takes G6. Hans took on D5. White is still better. Bishop takes D5. And rook takes E5. So white has 3 pawns for a piece and a long-lasting attack. And also of importance, these pieces on the queen side, rook and the bishop, aren't really participating in the game. So excellent position still for white. Hikaru played the best move, queen F7. Hans doesn't want to trade queens because he has an attack, so queen G5. And in this position, the only move for black is to play knight H7, attacking the queen, giving up the G6 pawn. White has 4 pawns for a piece, and the engine says white is like 0.75, 0.8 ahead. So all 3 results could have happened. Engine prefers white quite a bit. And Hikaru made a mistake. Instead of knight H7, he played knight E6, and probably thinking the same thing. I'm sacrificing this pawn, and I'd rather have my knight on E6 than H7, so that knight E6 is better than knight H7. But he was probably surprised when Hans always sacrificed the exchange. Rook takes E6, the winning move. After queen takes e6, Hans played a brilliant move here. And the key variation, I'm not sure if the player saw it. If you take on g6, which is a mistake, after king h8, black is okay. Black is threatening rook g8. And if you play bishop e8, threatening queen g7 mate, black only has one defense. But it's good enough. But it's not easy to find. And that's queen g8. And the engine says black is okay. So after bishop g6, king h8, black's position's okay. Hans correctly played bishop f5. And the idea is the queen doesn't have a lot of good squares. And obviously, we have to stop, checkmate. So queen d6 is forced. And now in this position, which we just looked at with the black queen on e6, and the engine said it was equal, now white plays knight f5 and gains a tempo for the attack. Now white's actually winning. So the queen on d6 is losing for black. The queen on e6 was equal, according to the engine. Queen has to move. Hans plays another nice Morphy-esque move, rook e1, getting the last piece into the attack. White wants to play rook e7, so Hikaru played rook d7 to try to take the sting out of that. In this position, rook e7's winning, and knight h4's winning. And instead he played knight e7, and this allows Hikaru to defend. And with the fact that it was a blitz game, black doesn't have a lot of time on his clock. He couldn't find the move that fought on. And it says that white's no longer winning, just better. Black has to play rook to d6. And if the knight was on h4, which was the best move, now if rook d6, rook e7 is really strong. But with the knight on e7, you can't play rook e7. So rook d6, black is fighting here. Okay, instead, black blundered. Hikaru played bishop to b8. Okay, and that blocks the rook from the defense of the back rank. So that's a bad move. And in this position, white has several winning moves. He played knight takes d5. And again, Hikaru made a mistake. But if he plays the right move, which the engine says is bishop g3, so the back rank is defended and he's threatening f2, white is still completely winning. White's going to have a bishop and 4 pawns for a rook, assuming best play, which is this. White's completely winning. So Hikaru played the obvious move, rook takes. And this is a funny position because white only has one move that wins. So it wasn't too late for Hans to blunder and mess things up. Rook e8 looks like it wins because if you take the queen, I mate you. And if you take the rook, then queen f6 leads to mate, either queen g7 or h7 mate. But now actually black is winning after rook e8. Black plays bishop h2 check and then takes the queen, and the black queen is defended via x-ray from the black rook. Black is up too much material. So rook e8 actually loses to bishop h2 check, and I'm sure Hikaru saw that. And if you weren't watching the match, then you don't know what white did here unless you figured it out. If you were watching, hopefully you remember, Hans played queen f6 check. Very nice way to finish the game. If king g8, then h7 is mate. And if queen takes queen, rook e8 leads to mate. So after queen f6 check, Hikaru resigned. And that was one of the nicest games in the Speed Chess Championship. Unfortunately, Hans couldn't do this every game, and Hikaru won the match. But that was one of the nicest games of the day. I'm Grandmaster Ben Finegold. I hope you enjoyed that game as much as Hans did. This has been 5 Minutes with Ben. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment, and I'll see you guys next time with more 5 Minutes with Ben. Bye.